Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to Wizard World Virtual Experiences as the crowd emojis wildly. Let me see all those emojis out there. We can't hear your applause. You can applaud if you want, just for your own joy. But show us your love and show us that you're watching via those emoji buttons. Give us those hearts. Give us those thumbs up. Give us those funky emojis you can find on Twitch. We are streaming to you live and free on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube to the comfort and safety of your home, bringing that Comic-Con life to you and to your virtual screens. We're very excited for this rewatch party. We've been doing these. We've been having a lot of fun. We're bringing on our favorite geek bloggers, YouTubers, hosts, and moderators, and we bring them on here, and we all geek out over our favorite moments from past weekends' virtual conventions. Tonight's is Starship Troopers, everybody. We're going to watch our favorite clips from that panel from this previous weekend that I was able to moderate and just kind of geek out over it. We have folks watching from around the world, as always, which we love. San Antonio, Texas, Wisconsin, Ohio, Israel, England watching in the house, which is super awesome because we have someone joining us today from, I believe, the UK as well, someone from the UK. Let's find out. Let's bring him out first. You might know him from 5dblog.com. It is a website and podcast that features their own particular take on the world of pop culture, including news, reviews, and features on both mainstream and independent projects. Again, you can find out more about them and follow them at 5d-blog.com. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Stuart Anderson.
Hey, how you doing, mate? How you doing?
Hello, Stuart. Stuart, tell us where exactly you are zooming in from right now.
I'm originally from England, but I'm in Scotland. I've been living in Scotland for the last sort of 15 years now. So yeah, up here in northeast of Scotland, far northeast.
Very nice, very nice. Well, thank you for joining us today. Super excited. I know you've been posting a bunch for us recently, and we're excited to have you here in the virtual flesh, if you will.
Nice to be here. Really,
ready to hang out.
Really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, sweet. Let's bring out our next guest. We've definitely seen this gentleman before. He continues to post regularly for us. You might have seen him as the governor on our Walking Dead fan panel a few months ago. He is Captain Kyle, executive producer of Fandom Spotlite and host of the Governor Reacts series. Please welcome Kyle Williamson.
Hey, vote for Starscream. Oh, the election's over. Dang it.
The election. Unfortunately, hopefully did you write in Starscream, Kyle?
Yeah, Starscream, because, Megatron's had his time. Let's not get into that.
Well, thank you also, Kyle, for being here. It's so funny for me. I'm so used to seeing you all cosplayed up as the governor. Just seeing you dressed down is a funny experience for me. So thanks for being here as just Captain Kyle.
I can talk like this if you'd like. Not a problem.
That's okay. Thank you both, gentlemen, for being here. Super excited to go back and watch some of our favorite clips from the Starship Troopers panel. I know both of you saw it in its entirety. And, this is just a quick rewatch, everybody. We recommend going back for any of our panels and watching in our archive video section on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Watch the entire panel in its entirety because it was an amazing panel. I nerded out. I know that I was an adolescent at the right perfect age in 1997 when Starship Troopers came out, and I was all about the violence and the gore and the sexuality of the series. But also, it was just an amazing movie. I'd love to just hear about your experiences. Stuart, why don't we start with you? First, tell us a little bit about 5D Blog, how that got started, and then your fandom for Starship Troopers.
I started the blog. A friend of mine he had a music blog, and he seemed to have a lot of fun doing it. Had people writing in and validating his existence and all this stuff. And I thought I want to do a blog. This is about 10 years ago now. And then I think, what shall I do? And I said to this friend of mine, I think I might do a blog like you. So I said, do all that pop culture stuff. He did swear, but all that pop culture stuff that you like, all that sci-fi stuff, with a couple of swear words in there, because he's not a greatest fan. So I thought I'll give it a go. And I just started writing a blog, just set up Blogger and just doing my own thing. I think the first thing I wrote about was the Time Tunnel, I think it was, and then Twilight Zone, just stuff that I liked,
Yeah.
But after a while, then I started getting contact from people, because I didn't know this was a thing, that people would then ask you to review stuff. They'd send me, this guy wanted to send me his book, a little horror book that he'd wrote. So I said, yeah, send it me. And then it kind of just grew from that to a website, to a podcast. And it's just been crazy. My whole family think this is just the weirdest thing ever, because it's morphed into this. When I'm talking like guys like yourself all around the world, and I've been lucky enough to speak to actors. You know, we spoke on the podcast over the last few months to half the cast of The Outsider.
Awesome.
Like you know, so Mark Menchaca and Max Beasley and Neil Vasquez. You know, it's just crazy. And we've met a lot of creators around the world. We've done a lot of promotion for people that have done indie films, and you know, I've met a lot of people. It's just weird. It's just this kind of pop culture kind of family around the world. It's great, you know. So, you know, long may it continue. I just refuse to grow old gracefully.
Yeah,
just keep going on. So, and I apologize. I've got my Pooch here as well, who's my little dog. So he's trying to get in on the action as well.
No, that's okay. That steals all the focus. It's perfect. So whenever we always tell the celebs, I was like, if you want to draw the attention, bring your pet immediately in.
So yeah, it's just been crazy, you know, and it's just a little kind of able to vent the geek in me, you know, just to vent it and lay it out and just have some fun. So it's great. You know.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's what's great about these. You know, we used to do obviously this similar thing in physical spaces and physical conventions, but obviously during the pandemic, we've been kind of relegated to this virtual world, but we've actually been reaching more and more people from across, from different countries that we might not have ever connected with. So even cool right now that we've got 2 different states and another country represented just in this call. And then you heard some of the places that I shouted out just hanging out in the chat. So yeah. Nerds unite.
Nerds unite. Nerds of the world unite.
Kyle, tell us a little bit about Fandom Spotlight.
Well, it kind of started out, we did a bunch of Doctor Who fan films and TARDIS Express commercials, and got kind of the filming bug and the YouTube bug. And then it turned into a cosplay talk show where I would bring on cosplayers, interview them in a talk show setting as if they were actually the person they were dressed as. So I got to talk to Supergirl and Batman and, you know, all kinds of people, even some like even a femme Han Solo. But then like the second part, I would talk to the cosplayer. That was my big.
Oh, Kyle, I think you might have just knocked your headset out a little bit. It was a little bit low and then you just dropped out for a second there. Or not. Stuart, you can hear me okay, right?
I can hear you, man. Yeah. I can't hear Kyle either. I think there's
Yeah, give a little check, Kyle. I know there's that little up arrow next to the mute button there. Just make sure it didn't switch over to a different microphone. Sometimes it gets kicked out, and then you have to go and reselect like the microphone that you want to use.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. You're back.
Yeah, it didn't switch, but I switched it away and back.
So. Got it.
Anyway, that was supposed to be my whole big thing into getting into network television. As you can see, it worked out really well. But then as part of the talk show, I started going to cons and interviewing guests there. From Walking Dead, Ross Marquand and Seth Gilliam were like the first 2 Walking Dead cast members we interviewed. And then it just exploded from there, did a lot of con coverage. And now it's morphed into this fandomspotlight.com, where we do a lot of con coverage and we do reactions. We do cosplay reviews and tips and whatever else comes to mind, all based on the geeky stuff, including stuff like, you know, Transformers. And let's see if he will fade in or out. This is the next thing I'm going to be talking about.
I mean, it's amazing with the platform now that you can have an entire 40-minute panel just on Baby Yoda toys. You know what I mean? that's our world right now. It's so cool to do it. Well, let's get to Starship Troopers. That's the real reason we're here. Obviously, the panel happened this past weekend, and those live one-on-one chats, video chats that you can purchase are going to be taking place tomorrow. So definitely take advantage of those. They're on sale throughout tonight, plus those video recorded messages and autographs. We got a bunch of fans in the chat right now. Christina Brame says, I missed that movie. I wish I watched it when I was way too young, but love it. Ricardo says, I still watch the entire Starship Troopers saga. And Jazz was reacting about Ross, how being Ross from Walking Dead being such a wonderful guy. Met him a bunch of times. We have the ultimate fan of Starship Troopers waiting in the waiting room right now. We spoiled it a little bit. Stuart and Kyle know nothing about this next guest that is coming in, or we're unaware that this gentleman would be joining us live and crashing this rewatch panel. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is Johnny Rico himself, Casper Van Dien in the house.
Mike, how you doing?
Casper, good to see you again. Welcome.
Good to see you too.
This is Stuart of 5D Blog. He's in Scotland right now, and Kyle of Fandom Spotlight. We were just nerding out over you, and I said, well, here comes the ultimate Starship Troopers fan popping in to crash the panel right now.
Oh, look at that, look at that. I just was in Scotland last year in September.
Well, we spoke a couple of years ago, Casper. You may not remember when Treasure of Mars was.
Yes.
We did, and you were kind enough to speak to me briefly for about 45 minutes or so.
Briefly for 45 minutes. That's pretty good.
It was great. It was meant to be like 10 minutes, and then you just kept talking. It was great. It was so cool.
I have that problem. People say that to me too often. They said often actually when I go to cons and stuff like that, they could be dressed up in the weirdest costume and they can say, what?
Oh, that's Jerry. Jerry, we can hear you in the background there. He's our tech guy.
Okay, so sometimes when I go to cons, they say to me, you're a bigger nerd than we are, and I always think that's a huge compliment.
One of us.
Casper, thanks for being here. We just kicked things off. We were talking about their blogs and sort of how they got into that. And we were going to segue. The way these rewatch panels work is we watch some of our favorite clips from the past weekend. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of surreal. We're both going to see ourselves on screen in a bit. But the first clip and the first question I asked you all this past weekend was about the legacy of Starship Troopers, and all the movies that have followed and the sequels, the fan outcry from even more to come. And I want to turn this over to Stu and Kyle, because they begged. They were like, put me on the Starship Troopers rewatch panel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan. I want to be there. Yeah, so I want to hear a little bit from them about sort of where their fandom started. And then fans watching at home, again, Casper, we have people tuning in from all across the world and across the country. If you have any specific questions that if you missed last weekend for Casper, put them in the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can, but we also want to watch, again, some of those clips. But yeah, Stuart, tell us a little bit about the beginning of your Starship Trooper fandom.
Well, I mean, I was about 20 when it came out. In fact, I think I'm only a couple of years older than like Casper, but yet he still looks like he's 25. It's just sickening, man. Just sickening.
51, brother, 51.
Wow, that is impressive.
So I mean, I went to see it at the theater at the cinema when it first came out back in 97. And it was, I seem to remember, it was kind of strange time of year that it came out. It's around about November, I think.
November 7th, 1997.
Right. Which I felt was a bit straight. It wasn't the summer, it wasn't a big Christmas thing. And so it wasn't that full, the theater. It wasn't, it didn't do well when it first came out, did it? It had that kind of slow burner thing. But I came out of the theater telling people, I've just seen this great, funny sci-fi film with great effects, and it's kind of like, I'm not saying I'm the smartest man in the world, but I kind of got it straight away. The satire and the humor and everything. I just thought it was great. Didn't take itself too seriously in some ways, and yet was serious in others. But yeah, it never took off, and it was only afterwards, when we've had 5-10 years onwards, and then it started getting this cult status. And I was saying, I kind of loved it at the start, and it was just one of those things I kind of fell in love with when it first came out. But again, I could never understand why it never had that kind of initial, explosion. I don't know why, what it was.
I think people missed it. I think they definitely missed it. Like I said, in England, when I went over there and we had in Clapham Commons, we had a premiere, and that was after the U.S. premiere and everything. We went over there, and they had posters all up and down all the tunnels and everything. Just like know your foe and all these propaganda, which was brilliant. Absolutely, they 100% understood. The PR team. Disney had it foreign, and they really, really got the sense of humor, the satire, the sick perverse of it, and the English really did too, and the Scottish and the Irish, all those people have really warped, sick, perverse people, and they all got it.
So true, so true.
And in America, they didn't know how to publicize it. They were a little bit afraid of the satire. The people that did get it were kind of like, I don't know if we should push this. And I think that was, you know, they were a little gun shy to pull the trigger on that one, you know, which kind of works for Starship, I guess. So yeah, it's interesting that it went over some people's heads, and then the people that did understand it, they were like, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to really explain this right without insulting people.
Yeah.
Kyle, do you remember your first kind of viewing of the film? Stuart, I saw it in theaters, which is awesome, which is incredible. Did you catch it right away, Kyle, or did you kind of catch
Oh
on
yeah,
to it
I watched it in theaters. I was
Nice.
like, and I have to say, I walked out of there and I just loved it. It kind of had a little bit of the like, to compare it to another movie, RoboCop, with the whole, you know, satire type stuff in there. But it was just, I thought it was brilliant. I felt so bad for Rico with his girl, you know, hooking up with this other guy. And, you know, I didn't feel too bad when he got his brain sucked out, I got to say. You know,
Every guy's wet dream. Every guy's wet dream.
Yeah, you know, he deserved it. Come on.
So,
Spoiler alert.
Ultimate death. The ultimate death. Literally.
Spoiler alert. 27 years ago.
Brain sucked right out.
Yeah. It's
That's
like,
so cool.
well, you know, it's been out for 27 years, so, you know, it's not exactly a spoiler. If you're watching this, I hope you've seen Starship Troopers. But yeah, it was just a great overall experience. I just loved it. I've always been into sci-fi, and anything sci-fi I try to watch. And yeah, I was just like,
So interesting that you say that the RoboCop, because there was one day when I was out and we had 1,300 extras, 1,400 extras, 30 cast members, 30 stunt guys, the big 250 crew, and then the stunt crew, and then the weapons guy. We had all these other people there, and I'm looking around and I'm going, and I look over the monitor and I see Paul Verhoeven, director of RoboCop, Ed Neumeyer, writer director of RoboCop and Starship Troopers, and then Phil Tippett, the visual effects guy for RoboCop and now Starship Troopers, and John Davison, the producer of RoboCop, and I looked over there and I said this. I was number one on the call sheet, and I just imagined that Peter Weller was. So I went, I'm Murphy, and I was like, I'd buy that for $1.
dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Oh man, fans are having fun in the chat. Eunice Torres says, I was in a full theater and I was the only one laughing. My friend looked at me and I said, this is dark humor. That's when everyone around me started laughing along with it, which is hilarious. Our friends at Nostalgic Pod Blast, we had them just on the other day watching Land of the Lost with us, said, Happy Friday, troopers. Happy Friday, troopers. Those insectoid aliens freaked me out in the cinema in '97. Excellent movie trailer editing too. Loved it.
Yeah, they had
The only good bug is a dead bug.
Yes. That was John Davison, the producer
Yeah.
of RoboCop and Starship Troopers. He's the one that said that with a dog when they killed the dog, and he gets really mad and says that. It's so funny.
It's funny about the girl saying that she was the only one laughing in the theatre, because I did the same thing. Where I think the scene where Michael Ironside gets chopped in half and he's saying, you know what to do, Rico, and I just laughed. I just thought it was. And everybody else is going, no, this is a serious bit. It's nice. It's funny, man. You know.
All
Straight
serious,
5 minutes.
all not.
10 minutes.
Well,
Michael
and
Ironside was just awesome in that film
Oh,
as
so
well.
good. I mean,
Oh,
we
the
talked
guy's
about the
great.
cast. Yeah, the cast is so good, and so what a great cast they brought together. Obviously, you mentioned all the creatives behind it too. And yeah, it took a few years, but then really caught on. And then we have 5 sequels now. People are rewatching it. You know what I mean? That hadn't seen it back then, or looking for that kind of fun, nostalgic sci-fi films from the '90s. And it's back. It's back. I want to get to some of these clips that are coming up. Casper, thank you so much for crashing. Feel free to hang around and watch with us. You can bounce whenever you want. Just a reminder to the fans, you can get a one-on-one Zoom chat with Casper and Dina and Jake. Those are all taking place tomorrow, and they're on sale throughout the night, in addition to video recorded messages and autographs. So definitely head to wizardworldvault.com for those. I just wanted to say thanks, Casper, for busting in and surprising our guests here.
We're not doing, I know this is a big controversy, but we're not doing the shower scene one-on-ones. We're not doing that.
There were some.
I was gonna get one.
There there were some requests for a 1-on-3 in a but the brokers were came back, and it wasn't Casper, Dina, and Jake were into it. It was their managers, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So you can blame them. No, let's watch this clip. There's actually, it's funny, one of the fans on the weekend asked about audition processes. And sometimes those can be kind of like mundane stories. You know, it's like, oh, I went in, I read the part, and this was what happened. But you guys had some great, awesome stories. So in case you missed it, here's a fun clip of all three chatting about their audition experience for Starship Troopers. Check it out.
Well, Dina got it first, right? Dina, you were the first.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I did. I read the script, and the audition was originally for me to read for the role of Carmen, if you can believe that. Yeah, so I had the audition. I said, read for the role of Carmen, and once I read the script, I just found myself gravitating more toward the role of Dizzy. And I asked my agent if it would be okay if I went in and read for her instead of Carmen. And so they were like, yeah, give it a shot, whatever you want. So I went in and met with Paul, and it was the jump ball scene where I smacked Rico in his head, and I told him he was drifting, and it was that. But yeah,
I just don't think I could see Denise Richards doing a flip 6-3 hole on the jump ball court. I don't see it.
That was the.
I love Jake. I love Jake from his car.
Smack the casting director, and then I kind of rushed Paul.
I'm glad he pulled over. I was afraid he was going to pull over.
Gosh.
I don't know. I guess that he just was convinced that I could play Dizzy, and so that's what happened. It was a one-shot deal, really. It was one and done.
Everyone's shouting out Dina Dizzy, Dina Dizzy. Tom Durante said Casper should have picked Dizzy from day one.
Well,
people are still upset 23 years later.
I didn't write the script. I mean, it wasn't
Rico. I think they mean Rico. Yeah, Casper, Jake, kind of auditioning for the movie audition process for this one.
Jake, go ahead.
My experience with it really, it much like Dina, it was a one and done thing. I went in to read. I had to wait for a while, and they were seeing everybody in town. I mean, every actor I ever knew of was in the waiting room, and so I guess the difference for me was that the guy who was the first assistant director on the show was roaming around the production office, and I had just worked with him on another film like 6 months prior, and so it was a great little reunion there. And he goes, "So what role are you reading for, man?" And I told him, and he goes, "Oh, cool, check this out." And he takes me back through the production office rooms, and he shows me this wall of the schedule, and it's the biggest schedule that I'd ever seen, biggest one he'd ever seen, and it was so big that in order to actually get a view of it, they had to use the entire wall to tape the pieces of paper up so that they could get a handle on the lineage of the shoot. And when he showed me, he said, "So you're reading for Ace Levy? So okay, now look up here and now track the line." And it's early in my career, and I'm hoping to get like a sizable role in a good movie. And when I saw that the line of my character, the days working, were the entire film, I got the biggest adrenaline rush I've ever had. And when you put that on top of already being nervous in front of an audition, when they called me to go in, I was such a ball of nerves. I think I walked in the room and I just started yelling.
And they were like, perfect.
So much energy.
How many days?
Yeah, just.
How many days were on the call sheet? I just remember when we started, it was like 1 out of 100. And how many days did we shoot? You remember?
It was
no, I don't know how many days. I know it was 6.5 months
day schedule.
105.
105. That's what I was thinking. I was like, 105.
And then we did 2 weeks of pickup.
Long schedule. Over 5 months, right? 5.5.
6.5 months.
Yeah.
6.5?
Yeah, I mean,
Then
it
we did 2
feels
weeks of pickup
like
shots.
it was a long time.
I did 2 pickup shots where I went
Right.
in.
I think I had 5. You had more because you guys had the bug tunnels afterwards.
Oh yeah, we did have the book tunnels afterwards.
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's right. But then we also had to go back and the drawing that I did of me drawing the going in for the kiss.
Oh,
I had to go do all the
yeah.
hand for that one day. I had to go in for doing these different hand shots with the guns and different days like this. I had to go in, and then after we got done and we wrapped and we had finished the 6.5 months, I went back and shot 2 more weeks where I just was doing like hands. They could have used anybody's hand at that point in time. I was like, what?
No, Rico had some beautiful hands.
No, thank you.
It might have wound up looking like that Seinfeld episode, you know.
Yeah. I
like it.
Oh man.
Casper, tell us a little bit about your audition process and getting the role.
I walked in the audition and like Jake, I saw everybody I knew in the whole world. And somebody told me that Donnie Wahlberg had wanted the role, and I was sitting in there and I was flipped out by the amount of people, and I just was.
Did I say Donnie Wahlberg? I think it was Mark Wahlberg.
I think it was Mark. I didn't want to call you out on the spot, Casper, during the panel, but yeah, it's Mark.
You could have called me out. I can't believe I just said Donnie. I think it was Mark.
It's Mark, yeah.
Wow. Well, we can correct that on this one, right?
Yeah, we can edit it. We'll get you doing the VO for it, and then we'll splice it back in the old one.
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
And he knows Nathan, and I don't know if you know him too, but he's
No.
Special director's cut of this panel.
We'll do a rewatch of the rewatch
He's
panel.
like, I've known him for forever, but he came to the Starship Troopers premiere. I have a picture of me holding him and then him holding me at the premiere. We were really
Poor guy, just rubbing it in his face.
This is Nathan. This is you talking about Nathan Fillion.
Whatever happened to that guy?
Yeah.
I want to talk about. Isn't that crazy how things work out like that? I mean, I'm sure you have a million of these stories, Casper, but it was so interesting to hear not only Mark Wahlberg,
Yeah, not Donnie.
who was into the role, and then Nathan Fillion again, and then we all know what happened to both of them. Kyle and Stuart, immediate reactions on that. Think both stories are cool. Dina originally going out for Denise Richards' part, and then potentially having someone completely different than Casper in the role. I don't know. Thoughts from viewers of the film?
I think Dina definitely was dizzy. There's no way. I couldn't see her as Carmen. There's Denise Richards nailed that role, I have to say. She had that whole I'm a pilot, like I'm better than you type vibe that I mean, I did feel like Dizzy was a better choice for Rico. And so I felt bad but I also understand Rico. I mean, Denise Richards, my God,
Well, you're one of the few. There's a big Rico with Dina and Rico with Dizzy and Rico with Carmen. And most people, I'd say 80-something% go with Dizzy, but there are the smaller percent, like.
Well, I mean,
12% that say Denise.
Yeah.
Carmen was just like gorgeous, perfect, almost out of Rico's league. As far as just, and not exactly on the same wavelength. I think Dizzy was more compatible personality-wise and everything like that. But I mean, Denise Richards is a gorgeous woman. They're both gorgeous women in different ways, but Denise has that like almost royal,
You're a Carmen guy.
Yeah, I gotta say.
Yeah, you're a Carmen.
I love Dizzy too.
Hey man, you're one of the rare ones, but you are that. That's what you are. You know that she in real life was dating Patrick Muldoon.
Okay.
The guy that got his brain sucked out.
Was that before the film or because of the film?
Before the film. And
wow.
during for part of it at least, I think.
Yeah. So she got the role and was like, Patrick, come on, do this role. You'll get your brain sucked out. It's great. It's awesome.
I think I've heard different stories. I don't know all the facts. You'll have to ask them. I hate to say who did what or what, but I do know they were dating. I'm not being dishonest about that.
Right. Shout out in the comments. We can prove this 80-20 right now. Dizzy or Carmen? Put it in the comments now. We've got some questions coming in. I want to ask you in a sec, Casper. But Stu, Dizzy or Carmen? Are you 80 or 20?
I've got to admit, I'm in the Carmen camp.
Oh, it's two for Carmen out of the.
Yeah,
Wow, this is so rare.
It's just been a little in love since '97, and it's just never gone away. So I just can't drop it, man. Can't drop it.
Well, how about you, Mike? We didn't even ask you.
I know. I disliked that character. I appreciate Denise Richards' beauty, but I think I'm in the Dizzy camp of the better woman.
They're 2-1 right now in this panel. Let's get Jerry's opinion. See what he says.
Yeah, Jerry, tune in. McCunny Funt says Dizzy. Lunatic LK47 says Dizzy for me. Joe Galloway says Dizzy. So you're starting to get overruled there, Kyle and Stu. So
wow. That was really
all right.
quick.
It's a free country. And
It
will
is.
remain
It is.
so.
Well, we could always demand a recount.
Oh no, Dizzy, totally Dizzy.
Yeah, right. Let's just
like
make
I
it
said,
simple and go to
it's a toss up. I like them both for different reasons, but I mean, I can understand why Rico would cling on to Carmen because she's like.
There was
She
no
is
Klingons
gorgeous.
in my federation. I'm sorry.
Oh,
There's
geez.
Klingons in yours, but mine was Klingon free. Unfortunately, I wish we had the Klingons. The Roughnecks.
Well, today is a good day to die.
Yes, we would have totally got into that.
Nice. Kyle, was that a Klingon doing a line from Starship Troopers impression? That was pretty impressive that you threw that out there. We're talking Star Trek. We're talking Starship Troopers. JTP Malvert wants to know specifically for you, Casper, just because we're on the topic of sci-fi. Were you a big Star Wars fan? How about a Star Wars fan? And Faye, do you have a favorite Star Wars character?
Of course, Han Solo was my favorite character. Of course, when I was a kid. I mean, there's just no way. I grew up. I had all the action figures. I had a Stormtrooper. I had, my sister got Luke Skywalker, which I was a little bit mad at because I wanted to be a Jedi, but I loved his sense of humor. He was more my guy. So Harrison Ford was that, and he had a Wookiee. So I mean, Wookiee beats everything right there.
Never tell me the odds.
And then
Stuart, are you
definitely a Trekkie.
I was gonna ask. Yeah, that's
Definitely. It was one of my first shows. I watched it religiously. I still, I watched all of them over and over and over and over again. I loved Star Trek. So that was awesome.
JTP Malavet watching on YouTube said you would be such an awesome Jedi, Casper. So there you go.
Thank you.
There.
I would love that. I would love to be a Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they're expanding the universe and they're going back to the Old Republic. So there's plenty of Jedi characters out there that are going to be up for the up for casting soon. So awesome. I'd love to see it. All right, let's watch this. We talked. Talking about Star Wars and Star Trek. Obviously, the special effects we mentioned last week during the panel were a huge part of this movie, and I think they still hold up. I know Stu watched. Yeah. Stuart, you watched it again recently. Talk a little bit about that because you watched it today.
I watched it this morning. Yeah, I mean, it's probably about 18 months since I last saw it, and I was interested to watch it again because of obviously what we're doing tonight, and it really is. Staggering how it does hold up really well with the special effects, particularly with the the arachnids and the space scenes, and it's I don't know how much Casper could say, but I don't know what the budget was in terms of the money behind it, but it
over 80 million of the budget was in the visual effects.
Okay, all right. I mean, so what are we 27 years later? It still looks great. It still looks really good. I don't think it's aged badly at all. In fact, I think it's probably improved in some ways with age in some respects. It looks great. Still looks great.
Yeah, the juxtaposition, I mentioned this in the panel. We're going to watch all the actors react to it in a sec. But, I think of the computer graphics versus the practical sets, I think where we've erred in the last recent action movie things is it's a heavy emphasis on special effects, so you kind of get taken out of it. You're just like, yeah, this isn't real, this is all drawn, you know what I mean? And the actors aren't really jumping off that thing, whereas in Starship Troopers, you guys are doing all those effects and running through that set, and yeah, that's enhanced by the blue screen space around you and the bugs coming in, but it feels like you're there. It feels like you're really in the space.
It feels really organic.
When we fought the bugs, there was never any there's nothing there. We're just fighting dirt. So
Yeah.
there was no blue screen or green screen for that. The only time there was ever a blue or green screen was when we had the spaceships or some of the windows that you looked out of. But most everything else was all, just the visual effects that they would add in later and practical things like us fighting. And I really jumped off that 30-foot mountain onto the back of a bug. I was into scaffolding that they had built up, but I jumped 7 feet down off of the 30-foot mountain onto the scaffolding with cameras pointed up like that. And I actually did that stunt. And they put me on the back of the bug, and I rode that, which was a upside down hull of a ship going around crazy. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, it's so cool. And then then they mix in with the close-ups. You're getting the actual puppets, you know what I mean, and the actual practical effects. So the transitions are so smooth. You really don't see the difference between the computer animated bug and then the arm that's been a lot of impalements in the movie for sure. Let's take a look. This is another fun clip. Again, of Dina kicks it off, kind of talking about all the action scenes that you guys worked on and how fun it was, and then how that led, because of how intense the action was and filming the action, how that really led to some camaraderie on the set. So here we go. The cast chatting about filming those scenes on the set of Starship Troopers.
I think the shots that Paul set up with all of us packed in the screen, where we had it was me, Casper, Jake, and 10 other people very close together shooting on Marita rifles. The fire came out, it shot out like a foot to the side and a foot and a half out to the front, right? The fire, Jake? You got a little bit in your ear from yours truly in the canyon.
Well, there was a lot of times where we would just get
burns,
the backs of our necks that were exposed were it was like you were just getting peppered with hot pepper,
fire. Spray from the Marita. So that was kind of challenging in itself, setting up the shots. But just working opposite things that aren't there. Just saying, okay, look out yonder, and there's a swarm of arachnid warriors coming this way, but it's Paul coming at you he's just running at you with a tall thing with a couple of tennis balls for reference. But you had to pretend that we saw what you guys saw in the film, which we didn't. We just saw whatever was out in the distance, which was usually.
God, I'm just, as you're saying this, and I'm remembering Paul doing that.
Yeah.
I'm also realizing that I've got a shoebox full of those high-8, little miniature camera video tapes, and I've probably got 20 2-hour tapes from behind the scenes on Starship Troopers that I haven't even looked at in 20 years.
Wow.
That's gonna be unbelievable. That would be a documentary right there.
Oh my God. What's that, sweetie?
Let's have a party at your place. Host a little barbecue or make some chili, and we can watch some of the uncut footage.
Oh my God! What would be amazing is the moment where we start watching it, and we're like, "Holy shit, we're kids!"
We were so young back then.
Yeah.
Jake, you got a whole Twitter. That's like the rewatch parties and the sort of live tweets. You know what I mean? You put one of those up and live tweet it, and people would be into it. People would be into it for sure.
Yeah.
Especially the shower scene.
Scenes of the shower scene.
I don't think I brought the camera in the shower.
Where'd you hide it, Jake? Where'd you hide it?
Yeah, well, that was before you could get the small camera.
I like it. He's like, I could have. I might have thought about it. I thought about it. But just the cameras weren't waterproof, so I didn't want to bring it in.
Right, exactly.
Casper and Jake, same question. What the hardest part about shooting up against the special effects and just all those the military scenes and running and shooting and all that kind of stuff?
Well, for me, it was the lighting. For me, the hardest part was the lights, because for any of you film buffs out there that know anything about film, we were shooting 25 ASA film and trying to make it as sharp as possible. So in order to do that, and also keep the background lit while you're seeing the foreground, you really have to light the shit out of it. I mean, so
Blinding.
if there was 3 of us on the wall shooting at the bugs, what you really had on the other side, like right in front of us, was a camera team on a crane with a ton of plexiglass Lexan protecting them from the pepper of the guns. But then each one of us had our own 18K lamp flowing in our faces, which is like the heat of the sun and the brightness of the sun 8 feet from your face. I mean, I was
so much weight on that show.
And for anybody that's watching that has light eyes or fair skin, you
Like
know
Jake.
that we are, well, Jake's all of the above. But I remember Jake, do you remember that he would have us, because we were all squinting, that he would have us like put our glasses on or close our eyes and look to the sun just to get your eyes used to it. And then they'd be like, they'd just start rolling the cameras and then you'd open your eyes. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. It was a whole routine.
Yeah, we had a lot to deal with it. You don't normally have to deal with when you're on a shoot, but it was bright and hot.
Yeah.
That's ready. You mentioned you lost a lot of weight on the film. Any specific sort of hardest moments from the whole shoot?
I mean, we had a lot, like everything.
He was working out like crazy.
I did. I worked out every day.
You worked out like crazy. You worked out in the morning and we'd shoot like, 16-hour days or whatever it was. And then you'd go and work out with the stunt guys.
Yeah, well, Garrett Warren, who had broken his foot in 9 different places. One day I walked by and I said, "Hey, look, what did they give you, a cheap boot?" Because his foot was all black. And he's like, "No, I have to wear." He's a size 11. He had to wear a size 14 on the other foot because it was black. He just wrapped it and was taking, I don't know, whatever he's taking to stay on. But I was like, "You got to tell him." He goes, "No, I need the job." So he ran around on a broken foot the entire time. But he's going, "We're going to go to the gym tomorrow." And I kept thinking, well, he's got a foot that's broken in 9 different places. And you and I were really good friends at this point in time. But I couldn't go and go, "I don't feel like it. I'm a little sore today." Because all I could think of was him yelling at me about his foot, going, "Shut up," because I was like, oh my God. So he and we worked out 6 days a week. And we'd have like 1 day off a week that we wouldn't work out. And then we would run around all day.
We would eat like 2 steaks at lunch.
Yeah, breakfast, steak and eggs. I was eating a lot. I'm a vegan now, but back then I was a carnivore, a complete carnivore, eating so much, and I couldn't keep up with it. I just couldn't keep the weight on. I weighed 155 on Starship Troopers, and I got all the way down to 150 by the time we were shooting in California.
All the way down, 5 pounds.
Hold on a second. You were 155 and you dropped down to 150.
Yeah,
a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight when you're that small. I'm on your side, Casper. I'm on your side.
Right now, 190.
Yeah, they're making fun of you, but that's a lot of weight when you think about it. Relatively.
Proportionally.
Yeah, there it is.
Well, I shouldn't have been able to lose that kind of weight, but it was just that hot. So
yeah, it's so crazy. So many good stories, and again, I think it's your all's commitment to the craft of making the movie that is why it still stands up. You shot the scenes for real. You all were on set together, sweating and losing weight and feeling the heat of those lamps. You know what I mean, for real, and it shows. It shows in the film. It's not fake, and I think that's again one of my favorite parts of it for sure.
So, Casper, real quick, did they give you anything to like help with the heat? Did you have like ice packs in your back, or
that would have been great? Ice packs would have been great. Unfortunately, what it was we were in Hell's Half Acre in Casper, Wyoming, a place called Hell's Half Acre, and it's amazing because it literally is hell. You go in there and it can become warm in the morning and then get freezing cold and then get warm again, then rain and get cold and get warm again and get really hot and then get cold and then snow in one day. And so like we had that happen to us. So like we'd wear our long johns on when it was cold and put on these black suits that were plastic and then with a diving suit neck and diving gloves and black helmets and gray and all this, and it didn't breathe. And there was all plastic coating in it and everything. So we didn't breathe. So we'd stay really warm and then we'd start sweating. We'd take all that stuff off, get all the other stuff off underneath, put it back on, be dying from hot and then have to put it back on because we'd be so cold. And so it was really, it was hard. Mostly we were hot. There were some times that we were cold in the beginning because it did snow when we first were there, which was crazy.
That's awesome.
Did I ask you as well, Casper, in terms of the relationship between the three of you? Because it comes across in the panel, kind of this tight bond that you've still got. Has that happened over the years, or was that straight away, between you and Jake and Dina? Because you come across as like really tight.
Well, Jake and I were working out. I just moved to Florida last year, or the beginning of this year, and he and I were working out this last 2 years together all the time. So we'd work out all during the week, and we'd go work out together. So that was kind of fun. We reestablished that. I was better friends with Patrick Muldoon, and Garrett Warren, one of the stunt doubles. He and I were hanging out all the time, and he's the godfather of my kids. I'm the godfather to his kid, and I'm still tight with him. He was in my wedding party. Patrick was in my wedding party, and Ed Newmeyer, who's the writer, was in my wedding party just 2 years ago when I got married to my wife. So I still am really tight with the Starship Troopers world. It's still really tight. And Dina and Jake and Patrick and I see each other at panels and cons all the time. Patrick's still good friends with Denise Richards. I see her every once in a while. I'm not, I don't hang out with her, or I don't hang out with Dina or anything like that. I don't hang out with them except for when we're on cons. Then we're all there and we see each other. So we've known each other for a long time. So we're basically family, but we don't all hang out a lot all the time. But I mean, Patrick Muldoon and I did all the time, and we've done a lot of films. But Patrick's also done a lot of films with Denise and Dina and Jake. So he works all the time. He's crazy, man. That guy is just he's awesome. I love him.
Cool.
Well, gentlemen, we are sadly out of time. This was a total blast. Casper, one more quick shout out. Thank you so much for crashing the party. Kyle and Stuart, I know loved it, and we're totally surprised. So we appreciate you being here.
Guys, it was great to meet you all.
Yeah,
Thanks
we're
for
getting one
part of it, and welcome to the Roughnecks.
Hoorah!
Hoorah!
There it is. Thank you once again, to Casper Van Dien for joining us on today's rewatch party. Remember, you can still get those live one-on-one chats. No 1-on-3 shower scenes. We apologize. But
you know what to
do. Zoom chats at wizardworldvault.com. McCunny Fun says the weather sounds like a normal day here in Scotland. So that's funny.
It is a normal day in Scotland. That's true. I love that.
Yeah. And Lunatic, there was a lot of discussion, Casper, about which Jedi you should play. Kyle Katarn was what was decided upon. He's considered, one of the Old Republic, the Chuck Norris of Star Wars. So look it up. Kyle.
That's Kyle. I approve of that choice.
I want to be Chuck Norris in every universe.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's saying awesomeness. So glad to have you here, Johnny Rico. There's requests to say kill them all.
Kill them all.
There it is.
And sign up for it, and I'll kill them all with you privately in one of those things. There you go.
They're on sale through tonight. Autographs, video recorded messages, one-on-one chats with Casper, Dina, and Jake. Those are happening tomorrow, Saturday. Take advantage of those. I've been your host, Mike G. I'm joined by Kyle Williamson of Fandom Spotlight. You can find out more at fandomspotlight.com or at Fandom Spotlight on all the social medias. And then also Stuart Anderson joining us from Scotland, 5D blog, 5D-blog.com. So follow them, listen to their podcast. They're amazing. We're going to have them back. And they were so excited to be here today for Starship Troopers. So we appreciate everyone hanging out. On behalf of Wizard World, we're out of here. Have a great Friday the 13th, everybody. Happy Friday the 13th.